Football Show, and of course, the Premier League Show. I've changed the name now without even telling anyone before the whistle, but it's just a Premier League Show now. It seems like an age since we've done this, but yeah, we've got the gang back together. No Oscar tonight. Oscar seems to be jet setting here, there, and everywhere. I think he's only in Manchester, but it's still a while away. Corey and Matt are with us. It's been a while. Before we get into everything, please smash a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel, get your comments in. We will go through them. And, of course, subscribe to Corey and Matt's channels. Their links are in the description, so get that done. Yeah, so, Corey, how are you, mate? How's things? Missing football?
I actually am, yeah. I mean, to be honest, near the end of that window, I mean, we know what happened with West Ham, so it was kind of a case of panic stations and everything was a bit depressing. And it takes you away from, we've had a good season, let's be honest. I know it's dipped recently, but yeah, I'm looking forward to just getting back to it, mate. Yeah. And they've had a break, and fingers crossed we look a little bit like we did a couple of months ago.
Yeah, fingers crossed. You play this weekend in the FA Cup, do you?
Kidderminster Harriers away.
Oh, yeah.
Two massive teams going head against each other. So I'm looking forward to it, man. Yeah. They're waiting for a slip up, but knowing Moyes will play Antonio. He'll probably play first 11. Of
course. Because you beat us in the Mickey Mouse Cup, but couldn't beat us when it counted, could you? That was it, I remember.
Yeah, look at the league table, mate. Don't worry about
it. Matthew, how are you, mate? How's things? I like your, that thing behind you, that shrine that you have.
It had to happen. It's kind of half my farewell to Dele Alli for one night only, and half because it really annoys some Spurs fans on Twitter. And I feel like, you got to be able to have a laugh. But yeah, I'm good. Delighted to be back on the show. Looking forward to having some good chats about some good deals on the window. And of course, we touch on West Ham and Arsenal as well.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I love that. He's savage when he wants to be. He's Matt.
It's rough. I can't even bat a back against it. To facts, mate. So
it is. Congratulations are in order as well, Matt. I've seen you just being promoted in your stats job to team leader. Is that right?
I have indeed. Yeah, just more responsibility and more hours at work. Can't wait.
Good. Me and Corey are out of work, so if you wanna, we'll
I'm not, mate. I've got a job. I had to run back to get it. What are you talking about?
I'm just trying to get you in the stats world, bro. I'm trying to get you there.
Oh, I see.
Right, you know what I mean?
No, I think all stats up is probably the closest I'll get to it, and then I'll kind of just go back, or maybe a bit of FB ref. But after that, I'm done.
Brilliant.
I'll put in a good word anyway.
Right, before we're gonna, for anyone watching, we're gonna have a talk through each individual team. Obviously some of them not so much because the window hasn't been great, but yeah, we'll touch on some of the big movers and shakers. Before we do though, I wanted to chat to Corey about these bids that were made for Raphinha and Calvin. 50 million apparently. I did see what Simon Jordan said on Talk Sport. And I sort of agreed with him a little bit when he spoke about how Sullivan and Gold seem to be posturing in the media to the fans to say, look, we're going to bid for these players. When really they knew Leeds were not going to, first of all, sell them for whatever price, I don't think, just because of the current situation that we're in, and certainly not for 50 million. So what was your thoughts on it, mate?
To be honest, it was frustrating. Normally when a club bids 50 mil, you think, oh, look, we're actually active. But the minute that type of bid went in, I just thought, it is a Sullivan special. He's done this for over a decade now. We've had it with Carlos Bacca. We've had it with Lacazette before he went to Arsenal. It's the same posturing of a deal. And it was just really frustrating as well for me because I can understand Leeds thinking, what are they doing? But for me, we needed realistic deals, and we were trying to negotiate with Carletta Carr from Marseille, which was a no-brainer in essence. And to be bidding, all of a sudden you're haggling over a loan to buy for one player, and then you're bidding 50 million for another. So it rolled us up massively. It rolled me up massively. And do you know what? The Raphinha thing, I thought, if you play devil's advocate and you're being hypothetical, and he says maybe he's off in the summer, I could get it, but you'd never have bought him for that, and Leeds would have never have sold him. It's when the Calvin one came in the next day, I thought, this is just ridiculous. I actually felt a little bit embarrassed. So yeah, it was actually more frustrating for me than even, I didn't even really acknowledge it, if I'm honest. I tried to keep off social media because just silly bids and silly times really. But listen, that's the West Ham way, not my channel, but that's the club. So
yeah, it's funny because you say that, because when it came out, I didn't even bother to message you or think, because I thought Corey knows this is bullshit. I know I don't need to reach out to him and say, what are your thoughts on that? Because if we're talking serious money, then we can have a conversation. But I think even West Ham fans
Joe, we'd have to talk. I mean, you have to talk serious hypotheticals to even get into the realm of being like Raphinha would have to be desperate to leave, or Leeds would be absolutely skint. And even then, there's no need for it to happen. So I knew the minute it was just annoying that you talk about a mythical figure of 50 million kicking around, and we didn't spend any in this window. And there's a player there that for 15 million, Marseille are in financial trouble.
So is that what you could have paid for Kalita? Yeah, the Croatian international, right?
Yeah. That's what they're in trouble. I think they've got a transfer ban coming up, so it would have been an opportunity to buy him, and that they were willing to sell, albeit he's a first teamer. So, and I just think from a squad depth point of view, are you actually the betterment of West Ham playing against teams with high presses or better distribution from the back? He solved a lot of problems. So, and we haven't even touched on West Ham not getting a striker, which is in itself ridiculous. So, yeah. Not to worry. I think Raphinha and Calvin are out for a little bit longer.
This would be GOAT, though. This would be amazing.
Yeah, do you know what? It would be... I was thinking about it walking home, actually.
Look at Matt's face. Matt's not having it at all.
I just thought in a transfer show we might get through a show without talking about that snake, but apparently not.
not after the overlap, unfortunately. That's
exactly. I was going to say, you can have your moment in a second, Max. We're going to talk about that as well.
But yeah, look, I mean, to be honest, I think Shane Calvin's injured at the minute, but he's still got time to get fitness in ahead of the World Cup, and obviously the way that Deck's performed this season, I think that double pivot that we saw for England, those two, we say it week in, week out, but they'll get even better. So I'm actually genuinely excited to see what that's going to look like in a couple of months' time. For
sure. And while we'll do it, let's talk about Declan. We shared a message just before we came on. I've just sat through the overlap, and I knew Chelsea links and stuff, but I didn't understand to the length of how big of a Chelsea fan Declan Rice was, and the way he was speaking about it, his first game, and obviously JT, as he called him, when he's, you know what I mean? And we were going to have his number. I think he said at one point, I always wanted to have number 26. We're still in communication, all this sort of stuff. And I was just watching it thinking, feeling wounded for you, but also wounded for myself, because I really like Declan Rice, and if he goes to Chelsea, it's one of them. I can't. I'll be like Matt saying, yeah, he's a snake. He's just one of them. Yeah. When you cross that bridge to that club or to Man United, it's a little bit like I can't enjoy you as much.
We've lived with that probably since he's come into the first team. It's no shock. I know it's really weird for other fans to think, that's your best player, and he's postured. I didn't think he postured for a move. I think he just answered the questions honestly. Yeah, and I think if Deck had come out and been dishonest and said, no, I don't support Chelsea or anything like that, we're going, well, mate, you're taking the mick. He said a lot of positive things about West Ham. He did say that he has got an affiliation with the club, but when you're coming out and you're saying that your idol is JT, then that is an issue. But listen, we can talk about that move, and I think that will be the move. But for me, it's just the money. It's just that how much do you get for him, and how much could West Ham realistically keep him at the club for a little bit longer? Because he's still only, 23? He's still got that maybe a year left if West Ham can do well in the Europa League, but it's going to be tough. But inevitability, we've been actually grateful to have him for 2 more years probably than we thought we would. So no surprises. And Chelsea fans are probably the worst to see on social media, because he's our player and he's this and that. But it can't offend me, because I know that's what the situation is. So just water off a duck's back, really.
You just hope that if he does make a move, it's to abroad. Like, I think for me, like we've seen with Raphinha, and he's been smashing it on the international stage as well again. I think he's that good that he could go to, a top team across Europe, and, Bayern Munich were linked in January and that. And I'm like, listen, if he goes there, I can enjoy him. You know what I mean? I don't want to see him go to a team in England and rip it up against us and that. You know what I mean? So
I agree. I mean, if I could have my way, Joe, I'd have him at Man City tomorrow. It's a shame they've got Rodri there. I know Guardiola really rates him, but
he's not making that move. It's Chelsea, isn't it? It's Chelsea.
But they have to pay what he's worth, and it's as simple as that, really. So, and we have to get to that realm of we're not going to be pushed around or bullied because he's a Chelsea fan, and I think it works in our favour that I don't think he'd agitate for a move. I think he might. We've still not been in a position at West Ham where officially that's the bid, officially that's Declan starts. Like, we haven't seen it; it's just been rumours, so we'll only know until then. But I'm hoping it's quite amicable when it does happen. I don't think I can do Declan leaving and Mark Noble leaving at the same time. That's brutal. That's brutal.
You don't want like a transfer request going in, do you? That's it, you know.
Yeah. I get Scott Parker vibes back to Spurs back in the day, and Scott Parker was my absolute idol, mate. He was a fantastic player, and that killed me when he went to Spurs.
Yeah, I bet. Right, let's leave. Go on, Matt. Go on.
Just want to have a few words on this situation.
Go on.
Joe. I think I said it the last time I was on here. Joe about in Ndombele potentially going to PSG, that he's a toxic personality that would suit a toxic dressing room. Declan Rice suits Chelsea down to the ground. They're both
such a lie,
absolute scum. And I think it's a perfect move for Declan Rice. But I also think we're looking right now at the levels between Tottenham and West Ham. I don't think anybody is questioning that Tottenham are a bigger club. But what was it, 9 months ago, we were in this situation, and it was Harry Kane doing his interview with Gary Neville. And Spurs fans turned against Harry Kane, saying it was disgraceful, it's this and that. He said Kevin De Bruyne is the player he wants to play with, and he was posturing for a move to Man City, just as Declan Rice is doing to Chelsea right now.
No.
It's exactly
completely different. It's completely different. Harry Kane was completely deceitful and stupid in that contract. It's completely different.
He was stupid, but he also went on with Gary Neville and had the exact same interview.
No, it's completely different. We haven't even seen this interview yet, so we can't talk. It's chalk and cheese. No, we can't. We can't talk yet, Matt. Come on, behave yourself. No. And you're talking about a bigger club. We're the only one in the European competition at the minute. You're somewhere posturing in fourth. You fell out of the League Cup. You got battered by Chelsea twice.
Apologies that we've one season worse than you in the last 20.
Yeah, it's okay. How many trophies you won?
How many have you won?
Look, I know what I am.
Exactly.
I'm not pretending to bring out 16, 17 DVDs of the best team that never won the Premier League. Don't worry about that. Be none of that.
Okay.
I love it. Yeah. Temp name says Matt always keeping it spicy. He does when it comes to Declan Rice, but he knows. He's not as wild as Hassam. I don't know if Hassam has changed his opinion on Rice yet. I'm probably not. I believe Sam will double down on it, even when he knows he's probably wrong. He'll just double down on it just for the crack. But yeah,
I still think he's bantering Hassam. By the way, there's no way you can watch him and say he's that. But
yeah. Anyway, right. Let's get into it then. Let's talk about Arsenal. Obviously, not a lot of incomings, quite a lot of outgoings. But I just wanted to speak and get your opinion on the old Aubameyang situation and him going to Barcelona. And him rocking up there. He's done an interview today, and unfortunately I was at uni. I seen it come and I bookmarked it, and I've not watched it. But I believe he said, I've not got a problem with Arsenal. It was all Arteta. Have any of you seen that interview that he did?
No, I've seen the quote though, which is what he kind of just said anyway. But
yeah. So I should have maybe asked you that before we did it, because now no one's seen it. We don't know what we're talking about. But what do you make to the Aubameyang situation, Matthew?
It's just what happens at Arsenal, and without even trying to be funny, without trying to banter them, their record of captains is absolutely atrocious. Like, you look back through the years. Of course, last time it was Granit Xhaka. He was stripped of the captaincy after whatever happened. Throwing the jersey and the armband on the ground. You've Lauren Koscielny, who flew out to Bordeaux to try and force a move through. You've even William Gallas, who forced his move through to Chelsea, whatever it was. The captains, Van Persie as well, even to United, the captains they have, for whatever reason, tend to do this. But I think what Mikel Arteta has done really well, and I think what you have to give praise to them for doing, is he didn't, even though they probably would have been better with him in the team, he didn't force him into the team when all these troubles were going on. We're in a situation now where, despite the fact that they've lost their captain, sold one of their better players to Barcelona, they're still covering some of his wage towards the end of the season. It doesn't really feel as though it's a loss for Arsenal, because he hasn't been in that team for 4, 5, 6 weeks. And the way Arteta has handled it, it doesn't seem as though it's that big of a blow for Arsenal. And I think maybe that could be papering over the cracks a little bit, but it was just bizarre what happened on deadline day. You've Aubameyang going out to Barcelona, Peter Adam Wingy style, and then saying, "Oh no, I was just visiting my family," and then 2 minutes later, Joan Laporta is in the press saying, "Yeah, we're confident we can get a deal done." It was absolutely ridiculous. But it's the joys, the beauty of transfer deadline day. But a blow for Arsenal, but I think they've handled it well, and they could get through it unscathed.
I've seen a few fans saying, that manager and having to go at Arteta for the situation. But I, as an outsider looking in, and I think I don't know why I say his name, because he's not really any value. He's been speaking again today about Roy Keane, but Gabby Agbonlahor saying something about I don't know why I bring him up because he's such a clown, and he's such a clown. He's just a massive parody. But he were making a point like he should have brought him back in the fold and all this sort of stuff. But I think for me, I don't know if you agree, Corey, Arteta's dealt with it brilliantly because it's like, I do not care who you are. You are a goner if you're not. And all them players in that dressing room now, regardless of what they thought of Aubameyang, they know not to step out of line. And let's be honest, what he did do, like, he took the piss, like being late on Derby Day against Spurs, all that sort of stuff. Like that for me is not acceptable.
No, yeah, but we also didn't know what was the straw that broke the camel's back. Like that's the only thing I would say. Yeah. So I kind of go on the side of. I find it a little bit hypocritical of Arteta in some instances where someone like Granit Xhaka, who for me has multiple discipline problems, either on the pitch or off the pitch, and he's someone that retains a lot of leadership at least. Whereas Aubameyang, whilst he still has those problems, he's sort of ostracised. And I'd agree normally that it's a strong stance if it wasn't for the other elements of that. So I feel that Arteta as a manager really can't. He's quite a young coach, isn't he? So I just don't feel that he can cope with certain personalities. And I think he struggles with that. And I do think that's his downfall, his ability to say, I'll take an ego or a player and use them to my advantage. I think actually, generally, it's the right move for Arsenal long term. I think he obviously has declined. I don't think he's the right fit. They've looked better when Aubameyang hasn't been in the team. But at the same time, you look at those forward options now, and Nketiah's going in the summer, Lacazette's going, and Aubameyang's off. They've got no strikers, which I think for a club like Arsenal who are competing for top four is as naive as us not signing anybody. So I don't know whether they're shooting themselves in the foot because Arteta can't get Aubameyang back on side. But I think we're talking hypotheticals. I don't know how serious this situation was in terms of him being, ostracised and got rid of. So it's a bit difficult. But I do think Arteta does have to manage egos a little bit more or show a bit of an ability. But I know that's a bit against the grain. Maybe I've been listening to Lee for too long. But
I think so, bro.
Do you not think though? Do you not think like when you compare Xhaka and Aubameyang, I can't. If it was a straight hard line with all of them, I would go, I get it. But
you make a great point with that. You do. I like it. Sort of does counteract my argument because it's like, oh right, yeah, there is the Xhaka. For me, like I know, and I don't know. Obviously, I can't speak for Leeds United fans, but I just know that Granit or any player that did what he did at Ellen Road, it ain't washing. You're throwing all that. Honestly, the guy would get out. Do you know what I mean? I mean, Bielsa won't stand for it, but under any coach, I just, as a fan base, I would boo him. I genuinely would. Like, you do that? Like, nah. So you make a great point, but I don't mind Arteta. Really.
You make a great point, but mate, you're wrong.
No. Listen, football's about opinions, innit?
I need to start watching these teams more, man. Like, I genuinely am starting to get to a point now where I have to go on a show and talk about Tottenham. I'm gonna have to start watching these teams week in, week out. It's such a commitment, man. Honestly.
I think they'll get Calvert-Lewin. Do you? And that's where they'll go.
I thought they were done Dylan Vlahovic, weren't they? Until he was like, no. Yeah, it's mad to me. Like Calvert-Lewin would be a good fit. I feel. Maybe I'm being a bit over, generalising things, but I think Calvert-Lewin I think he actually is a little bit underrated in terms of what people say about him. They just say, you can just score from corners. I've seen him run the channels. Again, he's got the athleticism. His finishing's decent. Like in a team like Arsenal, where they would be geared towards him with the creativity and behind, I think he would get 15 goals and assists and hold-up play. It'd definitely be an improvement. To be honest, in the summer, there's only one way that they can go, which is up. So it'll cost 50 mil, I reckon, to get him out of Everton.
Yeah, it won't be cheap. Luke W. Super Chat says, Xhaka chokes a guy, throws his captain's armband. That's okay, but being late is not okay. Got it. And that's the point Corey's making. But we don't know what else went on, do we, after the being late thing? Because it was a while ago that the Spurs thing happened, wasn't it, Matt, really, in terms of when he was actually chucked out of the side?
What happened? I don't remember what happened with Spurs. What happened?
He was late, weren't he, on Derby Day? I'm right, isn't he? Is that right? Yeah, he was late. He didn't show up. He was late for the team bus. Yeah, he was late for the team bus. Didn't make the squad, but it was a while between that and him actually being bombed out, I believe. I might be wrong.
Yeah, we played Arsenal back in September, so there would have been.
Exactly.
What beat us 3-1. Great day.
What I don't get about Aubameyang is with that situation, just to like end it, because I know it's going on a bit long, but it's kind of, if he's clearly not captain material, right? So they gave him the captaincy because it was almost part of that contract. That's fine.
Yeah.
Why don't you just strip him of the captaincy and try and integrate him in the team or keep him there? I don't understand how it's gone from you're the captain of Arsenal to you're completely out the squad. And that kind of difference for me is a bit odd. I don't know. That's how it feels. Xhaka was, you stripped to the captaincy, but you're still here. But Aubameyang's different. So
yeah. Yeah. No, that's a fair point. I do think you've been spending too much time with Lee. Like,
it rubs off, man, honestly.
Yeah, I see. I'm only joking. Right. Aston Villa then. I put a poll out on the video just on, I picked 4 clubs who has had the best window. I put Villa, Everton, Newcastle and Spurs in that. Newcastle are actually winning that poll at the moment with 44%. Villa 38%. I voted myself, and I did actually put Villa as my pick. I think the signing of Coutinho is a masterstroke. Just the impact that he had on his debut as well. Like, obviously gets an assist and scores the goal that equalises against Manchester United, which was lovely. I think Luka Dean is a fantastic signing. Obviously, Matt Targett lacking. You know, he's obviously rocked up at Newcastle now, so bringing in Luka Dean is decent. And you know, Olsen and Chambers. The Chambers one, I'm not too sure on. I don't think he's ever really, I don't know, shown any sort of promise for me personally. I don't know. I know when Arsenal brought him in, he's never really fulfilled what they initially bought him for. I assume. But yeah, I think they've done good business. What do you reckon, lads?
I'm a big fan of Villa. I think everything they've done, probably since they've come back up into the Prem, has been really top notch. Which it's ridiculous because the reason they went down was because of how poorly run that club was, and all the decisions they made that season. But since they've come up, I think they've been. There's not many ways that, despite the history that they had coming up from the Championship and being able to establish yourself as a stable Premier League team so quickly. I mean, Newcastle, you'd argue, still haven't done that from when they went down a few years ago. But they've done really well. The recruitment back in the summer and now has been incredible. And look, there's no doubt Steven Gerrard has had a big say in that at the moment. You know, Philippe Coutinho wouldn't be wearing a Villa jersey if it wasn't for him. And you're hearing now that Luis Suarez apparently wants to move to Villa as well at the end of the season. But that Luka Digne signing was really, really clever. And it was one that I think everyone really knew he was leaving, but there weren't many clubs that went in to try and get that deal done. I think Chelsea were mentioned. I was rather surprised that not a lot of teams did go in to do that, but they got that deal done quickly, and I think that's the key with Villa. As I'm sure we'll talk about with Tottenham later in terms of waiting too long to get those deals done, and I feel like a lot of the teams in the Premier League are guilty of that at the moment, but they've got those deals done. Coutinho early. That Digne one they got done before the big teams could really make up their mind. And that Callum Chambers deal, like Danny Ings over the summer, no rumours whatsoever. Just all of a sudden you have that official announcement. And I know that may not be the pretty signing out there, but I think, you know, there's a reason they brought him in. I think he offers something to that team if it's a rotation option or whatever it is. Gerrard clearly sees a plan for him. And I think Villa will continue to progress. And like we were saying before the stream there, Joe, in terms of Gerrard as a manager, like the main criticism you can give to him is that he only did it with Rangers. It's only the Scottish League. But now you're watching Giovanni Van Bronckhorst really struggle there. So I think Villa are really with Gerrard. I don't think, but I'm not going to sit here and say they'll be a Champions League team in 3-4 years, because as I've said with Newcastle in terms of getting to the top with the money, I think it's the same between Villa now and getting into that top 4. The ceiling is just getting a little bit higher every season, and it'll be a difficult gap to bridge. But no, they're doing really, really well, and I'm enjoying watching it, to be honest. I like Villa.
I agree with all you've said. Really, I think they're a huge club. Big fan of Steven Gerrard, and you know he's doing what we all agreed that he would do well, and it's proved to be the case. I know it's still early days yet, but I do think they will progress, and you know, next season they'll be knocking on the door of Europe for sure. I think over the next few seasons, the teams that will challenge for them European spots will just get bigger and bigger, and it's just a testament to the Premier League, because it just shows that. And I think this is why a lot of the top 4 clubs are getting a little bit worried, because they're obviously City, they are in a different stratosphere. I get that, but it's not as, do you know what I mean? Maybe City are. Maybe I'm being a little bit too kind, but I just think there's a lot more competition now.
I think what you're trying to say is, I know it's different with City, but it feels like with the top 4, teams are a lot more competitive. against them now. I think Matt's right in terms of, and you're right, that gap and competing for European football. I look at Wolves as well. Maybe that goes under the radar, but again, a team that will develop and have got money behind them. That top 10 of the Prem is going to be very, very good. And you're seeing teams that are now coming up and they just look completely out of their depth because the league's pushed on so far. It's exciting though. Like I know once upon a time it was said that we should be grateful for Liverpool, making it a competitive league, but I quite like a competitive top 10. I can't lie. Maybe it's just me.
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree. Impressed with Villa, their business, Coutinho, I think.
Yeah, I've gone for them. I was thinking about it. I think their business has been the best. I think in terms of two players that bring experience, quality from set pieces, creatively speaking. I think Villa have got a good team anyway. I think it was just underperforming massively and it needed a little bit of a rejig. And if I'm a Villa fan, I'm very excited. I'm looking at the end of this season. I think Buendia's really improved as well in the games that I've seen him. He flourishes under Gerrard. So I think they'll be really competitive next season. I think they've done the best business. And Target, if we remember, was such a weak point for Aston Villa. Yeah. And Digne's a completely different kettle of fish. So they've upgraded where they needed to upgrade. Whereas I look at Newcastle and I think, okay, fine, you have. But then there's an argument about how good that upgrade is. Dan Burn, for example, I don't think it's a massive step up.
No, can I just say quickly there? Just first off, there's one comment there talk about Jacob Ramsey, incredible player. Ramsey against Man United was unbelievable. But Luke as well says Villa, they're only 5 wins, 1 draw, and 4 defeats since Stevie came in. It's fine, but is it great? It's absolutely incredible because they lost 5 in a row before Steven Gerrard came in, and of those 4 defeats, 3 are against Man City, Chelsea, and Liverpool. So I mean, like on the front of it, you can see maybe that's a bit average, maybe that's not great, but considering what they were doing beforehand and the teams they've actually faced, I mean, that other defeat was Brentford, which fair enough isn't a great result, but Brentford on their day can be unplayable. The draw as well against United coming from 2-0 down. But it's more of an identity, and you know what you're getting when you play Aston Villa. Whereas in the past with Dean Smith, they could come up, they could show up and play you off the park, but they could also come up and 3 goals in the first half, and it's an easy 2 points. I'm really impressed.
I've actually really enjoyed that this season. Like Matt was touching on the identity point of view. Like we're seeing Vieira come in and Gerrard come in, and these identities are really in place very, very quickly. So it's not just the players that are improving, but the standard of coaching and the level that tactically some of the teams that are playing at. I think Gerrard, when you look at him at Rangers, had a clear identity and structure. The fact he's been able to bring that over so quickly and implement it is credit. And to be fair, him as a man, like the aura that he's got on that touchline. Yeah, and I think it plays into it. I do think players look at him, and someone mentioned Ramsey, like young players as well. You're looking up to Steven Gerrard and going, I'll tell you what, I better listen to what he's got to say. I bet you can ping a ball 60 yards on that training pitch, like no one else still can. So mad player.
And I think like you said, like I loved just him turning to the Stretford end against Manchester. Just them little moments where he just walked out and then turned around. Do you know what I mean? It's just them little nuances. I'm a big fan of his. Do you know what I mean? I am. And I hope he does well. I know that I've got them tweets ready for when he does do well. Them Leeds fans that battered me for suggesting him as a successor. Anyway, Brentford. Christian Eriksen deal. We discussed that one. That'll be an interesting one. 6 months, I think it is, isn't it? See how that one goes. Burnley. It's not normally. Hey, here we go. Look, Mike's in the house. Mike, if you're watching, drop me a WhatsApp, bro, and you can jump on because we'll be getting to Everton soon. And I want to bash you for Frank Lampard. So and Dele. We'll talk about Dele as well. So if you're there, mate, drop me a WhatsApp. Right. So. Weghorst coming in for Burnley. I think it's a really, really, really good signing. He's ideal for what they need. And arguably, and I know a lot of people have said this, they've ended up better like in a better situation. Obviously, losing Chris Wood, we're all talking about, relegation. And then they pull Weghorst out and, I think it's a great signing for Burnley, man. What are your thoughts?
I think it's a surprising deal would be the best way to put it. I think Weghorst is better than Burnley, and he can. I think he will end up at a better team in the Premier League. My main concern for Burnley is that he's there for 6 months purely to try and get a better move in the Premier League, because there's some German journalist on Sky Sports News, and he was saying that Weghorst didn't want Burnley and he was holding out for a bigger move, but when it came to the end of the window, I think he kind of just accepted if he wants to go to the Premier League, this is his way in. And look, I mean, that could work out for Burnley. If they do want him for 6 months, if he scores 10 goals and he keeps them up in the Premier League, it is worth it. I think we probably only really know in hindsight if Burnley are stronger, because Newcastle, what they're getting is Chris Wood as a player that they know will score 5 or 10 goals in the Premier League from this season if he's given a service. Whereas Weghorst, I know he has the attributes to deal with the physicality of the Premier League, which is something a lot of players struggle with. He's 6'6", he's huge, and I'd be terrified of him. So I think he does have the attributes to get in the Premier League and do well. But you also look at Chris Wood wasn't scoring goals at Burnley this season. Why is that? Well, the service wasn't there. And I think Weghorst, you could use that age-old, he's got good feet for a big man, but that's not going to be enough to really actually create chances and score goals for Burnley without that service. So it's a clever move, but they just need to be better in order to make it work. And whether or not it's going to happen, I think only time will tell.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Interesting. We'll see how it plays out. Because look, I need someone to be really poor, and I've looked at because obviously I think Norwich and Watford are done. It's just someone else needs to fill that other spot in the relegation zone. Although then I look. I think Norwich, but like Roy Hodgson in at Watford, I'm a bit like, he could really
4-4-2 master. We've got him next week at home, and I'm like, don't do it to me. I thought we got rid of the 4-4-2. Like, I can't. He's a clever old manager, trust me.
Yeah,
he's got
exactly.
We'll get to Watford, but he's got enough players to maybe get a few decent results.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. So hopefully Weghorst does work out and Burnley do go down, because we're running out of spots down there because there's been a lot of business done. Let's talk about Everton now. I've checked WhatsApp. Mike hasn't got to me, so I'm assuming he has done one now. So he popped in to say good stream and then did one. So we'll speak about Everton. First of all, obviously, they've got Fat Frank, haven't they? They've got Fat Frank. He's back. He's back. We've got them soon as well. Oh, there he is. Look, Mike's sorting the little man out. No worries, Mike. No worries. They've got Fat Frank. I know Everton fans will be happy. I can understand why, because they had an absolute shit show with Rafa. Obviously, Rafa came in. They give him everything he wanted, getting rid of Luka Dean, all this sort of stuff, and then sack him. It was crazy. Like, it made no sense. But we said for weeks it was only going one way, right? It was only going one way. And maybe he still will rock up at Newcastle. We'll have to see if because I don't think, I know we'll get to Newcastle, but if Eddie Howe don't get results out of these new players soon, then he could be... he could be out soon. But yeah, look, Fat Frank rocks up at Everton, and now all of a sudden it's Frank Lampard's Everton, and he is going to resurrect the career of Dele Alli. Dele's done. Dele's done, right? And this will get that,
you
man.
Think that?
I do. He's done, man. He's not the guy anymore.
Of all your takes, Joe, of all the stuff you've said in the time that I've known you, that has to be the worst.
No, he's done.
Shadow of a
What's
doubt.
he done? What's he done? He'll have a resurgence, but I think he's done. Donny van der Beek's an interesting one, because I mean, we actually turned it down, which was a madness, I don't know if you guys know that I did a video. Bielsa was offered Winks again. Like, you can't give this guy away. You offered us him in the summer. You offered us him in January, and we still said no.
This is in our team now. He's doing all right.
No, I know, but we turned him down, bro. So he was offered, him and Donny. I'm not saying we'd have got Donny done when Fat Frank came in, but, Bielsa said no. But what I find interesting about Donny, obviously, both Solskjaer and Rangnick couldn't find a place for him. It'll be interesting to see if Mr. Frank can. Obviously, Anwar El Ghazi comes in as well from Villa. So what are your thoughts? Matt, I'm going to keep you on ice because I know you'll have a lot to say about Dele.
Maybe.
Are you expecting a resurgence from Everton because Frank's in there, Corey? And are we going to see the Dele Alli of old? Is he going to rip it up?
I don't think so. I think there'll definitely be some kind of galvanising thing, even if it is just from that fan base, because they have struggled with Rafa, haven't they? Now, and I think that's the one thing that Lampard will give them. Personally, I do think Frank Lampard is massively overrated, hugely overrated. But in terms of how he wants to play, and if you're positioning it as Calvert-Lewin, Richarlison, Van der Beek, Ali, if you can get them all playing, there's goals in that team. And I think that could be enough to edge it. It's just defensively, I'm not sure Lampard has the tools for them to play the style that he wants. So I think it was an interesting move for me anyway, because I felt that Lampard was never going to take a job that would damage his reputation. And I genuinely feel this is one that can go either way. It's not a foregone conclusion, but I think Van der Beek's a really interesting one. I do. I think we haven't seen enough of him in a Manchester United shirt, really and truthfully, that properly represents his talent. And this is what I'm saying. In that side, he's been looking for that 4-3-3 team where he can play that number 8 position at Palace or at Everton. So he's got that chance now. So if he clicks, then they'll be all right. They should have enough quality. But he is... Yeah, exactly. You still got Seamus Coleman kicking around at right.
Less of the Seamus Coleman slam.
Oh, sorry, man. Not playing the back 3 every week.
I do agree with Mohamed here where he says Damari Gray barely walks into our under-23s. I'm not having that, Mike. Like, Mike's saying that Damari Gray walks into our side. Although you're right, like, we gave him stick on here as well. I remember, Locke saying he'll have a good time and then he'll fall off a cliff. But, I guess he's had a decent season. It'll be...
Fair, I think his ability to walk gets him into your team with the injuries you have at the moment. So.
What are you talking about? We've got Tyler Roberts, man.
Sorry, Joe. Sorry, my bad.
Exactly, mate.
Honestly, man. Please, honestly. I don't know if you've seen any of the Newcastle game. I'm assuming you never, but...
Is this the free kick he gave away? Oh, I didn't give the free kick away, did he? He gave the ball away, yeah.
Mate, he had 3 chances to pass the ball, man. Like, I support all the players. That's just how I am. And, like, in the ground, like, my mates who I go with and I'm not sure. Like, well, they support him, but they're not on it. I'll go, oh, he's coming on, come on. And they're just going, nah. And then, obviously, when he did what he did, I was like, oh, no, Tyler. But, yeah, there you go. Yeah, so... You agree with me that Dele's done? Dele's done. That's what you're saying, Corey, yeah?
With me? I don't think that geezer's done. I'm telling you now. Like,
Really?
There's something about him. He's so... I can't stand Dele Alli, but like, just look at it in context. How old is he, Matt? 20, 24, 25? Oh, is it? Oh, okay, fine. All right, okay. So he's not done physically, I don't feel. And technically, he's got more than enough ability. It's just, I don't know what it is with him, whether it's motivation... The fact that it kind of feels like he's been in a Tottenham team that's been transitioning from different styles of play and different managers. Maybe that's hindered him a little bit. But I think Frank and Dele Alli, you look at both of them as players in terms of late runs into the box. That's where they were at their peak. So I just feel that move will suit him. He's a great player, Dele Alli. Don't get me wrong. Can't stand him for Tottenham. But I don't think he's done. I still think he's got a bit in the tank.
Yeah. Well, I think... what's really frustrated me is just the media outpouring of Dele and Frank, and like there was even this video of like they walking together and he goes, "We got it done." I was like, "What's going on here? What's going on?"
To be fair to you, Joe, I used to think, you're a bit sort of irate about the whole media coverage. I never really paid attention. I just didn't like Fat Frank, and then now I look at it and I think, God, they are really overdoing it a little bit. Like, behave yourself. He's not done that well with Derby, and he didn't do that brilliantly with Chelsea. And he spent 200 odd mil. So
we can get the stats out, but I mean, he took Derby from 5th to 6th, and he took Chelsea from 3rd to 4th. So if you want to,
he's panicking now because he's got Rooney on one side, he got Gerrard on the other. He's thinking, I've got to step up here. Like, I've got to show what I'm about.
We've got him soon as well, man. I can't wait. Like, I just hope we turn him over. But I'm expecting. To be honest, if I'm being honest, right, they will get a new bounce. And Everton, we said before, like I think no one's too good to go down, but I don't think Everton get relegated. No, there's no chance of it. And I do think they will have a resurgence under Frank. I say through gritted teeth, unfortunately. But we'll wait and see. Right, go on, Matt. Tell me why Dele Alli is gonna get back in the England squad, and Frank's going to unpick Dele, and him and Donny are going to be the best midfield since sliced bread.
Well, he's not going to get back in the England squad. Let's be realistic. Okay. He's not going to get back to the levels that he was at. But what I will say is the first thing that you need to know about this is Tottenham signed Dejan Kulusevski and Rodrigo Bentancur on deadline day, and all I've seen on my feed since then is Spurs fans talking about Dele Alli and wishing him well, because this kid. And look, make your jokes all you want about the DVDs and the lack of trophies, but that Spurs team like 5 years ago was probably our best team since the 80s, and Dele was such an important part, was such a focal point in that team. And Corey hits the nail on the head when it was those late runs into the box where he was that front four that we had with Dele, Son, Kane, and Eriksen, incredible front four, and Dele really was the focal point of that. And without him, I don't think it works as well as it did, because he was the man. He was the picking up that half space in front of the defense. He was that more of a false 9 than a number 10. And Frank Lampard is one of the best that ever did that. And the comparisons were there with Dele Alli from day one. that Frank Lampard is the player that he was going to, his career he was going to emulate, and he was going to be that style of player. Now,
I despise getting on with that.
That's the point, Joe. That's the point. I despise Frank Lampard with every fibre of my being. I hate Lampard more than I hate Declan Rice. Let's just let that sink in for a second.
Yeah, but we can agree on that.
Frank Lampard was an amazing footballer, though, wasn't he? Like he was amazing. He
absolutely was. But Dele Alli was also had the potential to be as good as them. But what he was doing, he smashed records set by Lampard, Gerrard.
So why do you think he's not then? What's happened?
Look, a lot has happened. He's had a lot in his personal life, which I know a lot of football fans will be quick to dismiss and say, "Oh, that doesn't matter." He's gone through some utter rubbish, like genuinely some shocking stuff that he's been through. He was robbed at knife point in his own house a couple of years ago. He when he was 13 years of age, he moved in with a family friend because of how bad his home life was. 2018, his parents, who hadn't spoken since they were divorced when he was a kid, came together and did an interview with the Daily Mail, trying to get Ali back into their lives and all that crap. He's been through some absolute terrible stuff. But I do think there also has to be an element of footballing struggles for the decline in form that he's had, because no one's going to question. I think even you won't question that the talent is there. He is technically, and his knowledge of the game is absolutely incredible. He showed that. He's scored 40 goals in his first 2 seasons in the Premier League, having just moved up from the League One. He was nearly matching that assists as well. He's been a victim of the system that we played at Tottenham, because since probably prime Pochettino, since that season when we reached the Champions League final, we haven't played a number 10 and we haven't played a playmaker. Under Jose, he was a left centre mid in a defensive 4-3-3. Under Nuno, we didn't have tactics. Under Conte, it's been a very similar thing where it's either a double pivot or 3 in the midfield, and he doesn't have the freedom to do what he does. Now, having said that, we played Liverpool a couple of months ago. It was a 5-3-2. Dele kind of played in the left, but what he was made to do was he was pushed really far up that left-hand side to pin Trent Alexander-Arnold back and to cause havoc in that space that was left whenever Trent did venture forward. And he was incredible. Harry Winks got man of the match because he made a couple of passes and we were all surprised by that. But Dele Alli was really, really good in that game. And he has that ability. And I was on a channel with an Everton fan yesterday, and I said, no matter how bad Dele is, if he can't make a single pass, if he can't get on the ball, what you will get from him every single time he's on that pitch is he will run more than anybody else. And we've all seen the stats that when Nuno's in charge, Tottenham ran the least of any team. It's become the most under Conte. But the consistent throughout all that is in both those teams, Dele Alli ran the most. And he has that. He will fight for the badge. You can see he has that motivation. He has that determination. And the deal that we put together here for Everton to buy him, it's a free transfer initially. And essentially the way it's working out is for every 20 appearances he makes, up to 80, Spurs get 10 million. So he makes 80 appearances for Everton, Spurs get 40 million out of this deal. And I think what the structure of that deal does shows that Spurs have hope that he can turn this around. Even though we're letting him go, we feel there is a chance that he can turn it around. And the way I'll describe it for me is I don't expect him to, but I will not be one bit surprised if he does. And look, I mean, he's right there. He's one of my favourite Tottenham players of all time. It absolutely broke my heart when he left, because we thought it was going to be a loan deal. As much as he needed to go, and as much as it was the right time to do that, it's still heartbreaking to see him go, especially in a matter of hours it goes from a loan to a permanent deal. I hope he refines that form, and I would say Everton, whether he does or not, have a fantastic guy in their hands.
That's really interesting hearing how they've structured the deal. Yeah, it's mad that, isn't it, really?
It is mad.
Yeah, it's mad that how that's changed. White Peacock Andy Super Chat says 31 more likes for 100 Super Show, lads. Thank you very much for all your support. Thank you for the Super Chat.
On that point, though, it's interesting because when Mourinho came in, Ali had a purple patch. Like he did genuinely look like the old Dele Alli. So it's kind of that margin between. He feels like a flop, and it's probably different for Matt because you see things like the work rate and in certain game plans he's effective. For us, we just think Dele Alli 20 goals a season when he first come up. We haven't seen that since. What's he doing? So it does feel like it can flip. I feel Frank will get the best out of him. Like, say what you want about Frank. I think it will be naive at times from Everton. I don't think they'll have the players defensively, but going forward, I think they'll have a bit about them. That's what I would say. But hopefully they're so naive against West Ham, we batter them. So.
Even aside from the stylistic benefits from Lampard managing Dele Alli, when Jose came in, Dele was incredible. Like, I'm sure you remember that goal we scored. It was like Jose's first game against Corey, and Ali fell down on the sideline while on the ground, managed to flick the ball down the line. Spurs went down and scored from that, and he did have a really good purple patch. We played Stoke in I think it was like the quarter-final of the EFL Cup last season, and Dele started in his number 10 position. He wasn't at the best of form, but he was still picking up a goal here and there, getting a couple of assists. And at one point, we were a goal up. Dele gets the ball kind of on a counter-attack. He tries to flick it around the corner to whatever attacker was there. The pass doesn't come off. Stoke get the ball. They break. Davis makes a mistake, Doherty makes a mistake, Stoke score. All of a sudden, Dele is whipped off the pitch. And in a post-game conference, Jose Mourinho says players have to pay for when they cost the team, and you can't make these mistakes at this level. And he essentially said that goal was Dele Alli's fault. I took him off the pitch. Now, what Dele has had the whole way up through his career, and even if you want to bring it back to his personal life, when he was 13, moved in with this family friend, the friend who was still his agent. He had these people who picked him up when he was down. At Everton, he had Carl Robinson who put that arm around his shoulder, and when he needs it, he could be that, whether it was a father figure or just a proper mentor for him. At Spurs, he had Pochettino, and I feel like he needs that wherever he goes. He didn't have it with Jose, not one bit, and I feel like Lampard could be that kind of person, because a lot of Dele is an emotional person, and that's what part of what made him so great, because he had that bite, he had that little bit of a nasty streak in him, but he knew how to control it. He is an emotional person, and I think someone like Frank Lampard, because of the vested interest I think he will have in him, not only as one of his first signings at Everton, but seeing himself in what Dele Alli nearly made of his career, I think that could be fantastic for Dele. And again, I despise Frank Lampard, but I think he's one of the perfect people to turn Dele's career around.
I could be wrong, but we'll see. Listen, just looking at the other players as well, Nathan Patterson and Vitaly Mykolenko, right back and a left back. So maybe I've not seen either player, if I'm being totally honest. So they're looking at obviously improving that back line.
I'm out of my depth here.
Yeah,
I don't say a word about either.
Yeah, Ukrainian Dynamo Kiev players. I'm out of my depth. I'm out of my depth now, so don't ask me to don't ask me to speak about Ukrainian soccer players. Right, okay. Next up would be Leeds, but look, Leeds haven't done any business. Here's what it is: Bielsa has faith in the squad. I do find it mad that our whole deadline day was whether Somerville pushed through a move. Like Cody Drama did, and if he had have done, we'd have then gone for like a Minamino, which I find insane, because I can't not criticize it, because I'm like, Minamino's paid like almost 50 times for Japan. He plays for Liverpool. He's got, he was at Salzburg. He's got experience. He improves the squad, but Bielsa will only bring in players that improve the first 11, and he obviously felt that Minamino doesn't improve.
I know that feeling, 11. Mate. Don't you worry about that.
Yeah. And it obviously, when January window shut, we then find out from Phil here that Leeds were offered Van der Beek and Winks and said no. Which again, if Bielsa's very particular. They might be not giving the numbers, etc. People who know analytics and stats can tell you much more than me, but from my fan perspective, I'm like, Donny van der Beek improves the squad, and if you're offered him, you take him. There's an even case. I know everyone hammers Harry Winks, but our bench has a 15-year-old on it, so
this is what I mean. I don't want to go into West Ham, but this is the same principle that we have, where you kind of feel when you get to that point. I can understand in certain situations where you've got a really strong squad and you say, well, I don't want to bring in someone because it's a number 5 out of a back 4, for example, or 4 centre backs. When you're talking about an area that your backup is a 15-year-old, you start to say, well, if it's a loan, what's the risk? And maybe it might be different for Leeds, because someone like Van der Beek has got to be integrated and the fitness level's got to be a lot higher. And I can understand that. But at the same time, it can be frustrating, because you just feel, if there's a limited risk, why not add where you can? Do you see what I mean? So I agree. I can understand frustration.
Yeah, I do. I do agree. And look, I still say it with my chest: Leeds United will not get relegated, and it's really disappointing this season, because we did so well last season. But the remit for the club was to finish 17th, 2 consecutive seasons, and then we push on. And I do believe Leeds, as long as we stay up, which I think we will have a very, very good summer. Hopefully that means keeping Calvin and Raphinha as well. Raphinha's muted to be signing a new deal. I do think we'll spend cash, and then we'll start to move. We just had that amazing season, and now we're all gutted because we're languishing towards the bottom, and people see it as negligent because we've not brought anyone in. But at the end of the day, we're not in the relegation zone, and we've had such a bad injury crisis. We still have 7 points on the bottom 3, and we have such a bad injury crisis. Get them players back, then we're nowhere near. If we have Bamford for all the game, we're nowhere near it. we're nowhere near it. If we have Calvin, we're nowhere near it. I genuinely believe that. So, look, we have to have faith in it, and I don't think it's misplaced. So there you go. Leicester, we'll move on. Leicester did no deals. Liverpool brought in Luis Diaz, tried to bring in Carvalho as well from Fulham, who we have been linked with, but couldn't get it over the line. What do you make to the Luis Diaz signing, Matthew?
It's a great deal, and that's because Tottenham did all the negotiating for them. Do you hear that?
What's that?
Liverpool wanted Luis Diaz since last summer. And Porto said, pay the €80 million release clause or you don't get him. Tottenham went in, started negotiating, started this window. Things intensified with a week to go. Negotiating with Porto, with the player. George Mendes was heavily involved in it all. And Tottenham managed to get them down to £37 million up front and 12.5 in add-ons. Porto accepted. Diaz's agent was frustrated that George Mendes was involved, so he went out, told Liverpool what was happening. Liverpool came in, offered the same as Tottenham offered, and the player chose them. So Tottenham did all the heavy lifting.
Wow.
It's crazy stuff. But fantastic player. I was sitting on the day trippers a week ago saying how much I'd love seeing him at Tottenham, so I'm not going to sit here and say he's a bad signing. I think there'll be a bit of a betting in period coming in from the league that he's coming in from, but a really, really good player at the top of his game, 25 years of age. He scores goals for fun. And he perfectly fits that Liverpool system to replace Sadio Mane as an inverted winger. Brilliant move for Liverpool.
I think as well, like from a Leeds fan perspective as well, it sort of maybe makes you think that they won't have a dab at Raphinha now. Maybe not. You know what I mean? I
think they might.
Do you still think they will?
It's really hard to say because I would normally say no, just because Salah is the man on that right hand side. But I look at Liverpool's business, and I think it might go under the radar because sometimes, particularly for Liverpool fans, it feels like they don't do enough. But Jota was integrated. A lot of people were surprised when they brought him in, and he is the man instead of Firmino now. Diaz will eventually be that. And I look at that right-hand side, and I'm thinking, at what point does Klopp go with a right-hand side option? Now, I think he'll look at Raphinha. I think he'll look at Bowen, unfortunately. But Liverpool might get fortunate where they may be in a sweet spot where they have these serious options in behind the options they already have. So it is quite concerning for the rest of the league. But I wouldn't say it wouldn't happen for Raphinha because I just feel Liverpool they're starting to plan for the future now. And I think they've sort of shown their hand.
I just don't see him. He's going to be second fiddle, and he can't go in as second fiddle. Surely, I don't think. I don't know. We'll have to.
No, I mean, look, I'm being hypothetical.
Yeah, no, it's fair.
It's true. I mean, Raphinha has to be playing week in, week out. There's no doubt about it. If Bayern Munich come in for him, he's going to need. Well, I mean, for a certain amount of money.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, no, of course. It's what it is. We paid 17 mil. 17.
I cannot believe no one else looked at it. It really winds me up. I just think like it's
Victor Orta's good at his job, but people won't have it. Leeds fans won't have it, but they forget that Pascal Struijk, took from the Ajax academy. He's amazing. Melier, 5 million we paid from Lorient. He'll go when he does go for top brass. They forget all this because people like to be angry, but Victor Orta has done a top job at Leeds United and signing Raphinha for 17 million. Wow, we'll get
serious business, mate.
Yeah, serious business. City brought in Julian Alvarez from River Plate. I think he's gone back out on loan there. Man United, obviously, just a lot of outgoings, no incomings. Let's speak about Newcastle. Really interesting one, this one. Like you were saying, they have brought in players. They've almost brought in a new back line. But again, is the quality well up there? They all can do a job. Obviously, Bruno Guimaraes from Lyon is the main one. I mean, just looking at the poll as well, Villa have usurped Newcastle now, 44%, but 33% believe Newcastle had the best window. I know a gal popped in the stream earlier on and said it as well. Yeah. Do you agree? Do you think they've had a good window, Corey?
Oh no, they've had a good window. I just think they had a better window than Villa. Yeah, I think they have. I think it's tough in that market where they're in a position where they're going to go for a lot of players, and a lot of clubs are going to say, pay the extra, and quite rightly they're going to get as much money for them as they can. I think they were probably a little bit gutted not to get a Diego Carlos or a Botman. I think if they'd got both of them, we would have been sitting having a completely different conversation because Botman, Carlos and Trippier, take Target out of it, that's a fantastic backline, really, in truth. I think they've done brilliant business with Bruno. I really, really do. I think they've needed a number 6 for a long, long time, and he will add something that they just haven't had that's been neglected. But I think where people are saying it, where I think it's not perfect is I don't think Target's the best left back. He can do a job. We've seen it at Villa last season, but obviously not favoured this. Burn is an interesting one. He's an improvement because it was so poor before. And then Chris Wood, you'd rather have him than you wouldn't have him. So I can understand it. For me, I think they should have got a number 10. Like, it pains me to say, but if they'd got a Jesse Lingard, albeit not that type of number 10, I do think they missed a bit more creativity in there. I don't think they have that enough. I think they're too reliant on St. Maximan, or maybe they look to the wide areas too much. I think that's the area that they should have improved, but they're in much better shape. And I feel that they have got winners in that side now. St. Maximan can produce a moment. I think Trippier from set pieces is a great signing. So it's a good window, but it's not the best window, in my opinion.
Do you know what I will say as well? Like, if you bring in, so they brought in 5 players, right? 4 of them, taking Bruno out of the situation, they're up for the fight for me. They're battlers, you know what I mean? And that's where Newcastle are. And I think I genuinely thought some of the names that maybe would be interested in going, but not while they're in this relegation dogfight. And you probably don't want them type of players for a relegation dogfight. Whereas even the names, Chris Wood, Matt Target, and Dan Burn, scream, we're up for the fight against relegation. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. I think it's decent. I do believe, though, this is how much money they've gone, that in a year's time, then players won't be nowhere near that first team. Do you know what I mean? But that's they can afford to do that. I don't see a future where Chris Wood and Burn.
But they found out that they can't go and they've proven to us that they couldn't do what we felt that they might be able to do, and that's go and buy anyone that they want and anyone be attracted to it. And they're finding the reality of, we are going to have to build with Dan Burn. Like, we're going to have to go through every step like every club does, because it's not you can't just flick a switch. I remember Man City spending a lot of money in a short space of time, and it wasn't that easy. They had to go and win the Prem, and they had to go and do it like that. So yeah, I think that's a natural progression. And that's why I say it's a good window, because they are improvements in the areas that they needed to. Even Dan Burn, who's a bit, I'm not sure. But then you look at, what is it? Kieran Clark.
I think he's a Geordie though as well, isn't he? He's from up there.
Yeah, he'll love it. He'll love it, mate.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's a massive thing as well.
Yeah,
and they're going to need that kind of connection between a player like that, where they've not had it really with the club before, and the fans. And then that kind of galvanises them. So, yeah, it's a good point, mate.
Yeah, I think that's a big part of why they went there, really. I think. Matt, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on Newcastle's business?
I think it's really similar to what I'd say about Spurs, in that the deals that have been done are good deals, but they'll be worried about the bits they didn't get done. I mean, they needed a centre back. I'm not sure if Dan Burn is the one to really steady that defence, to really sort things out. I mean, look, he could be. He was decent at Brighton, and like you say, Corey, that connection with the fans and being a Newcastle lad, that could get a little bit of something out of him. I think Trippier is a great deal, and I've said it from the first minute. I never wanted him to leave Tottenham. He's a very talented player. He will fight through every minute of every game. That's going to be really important for them. The Bruno Guimaraes deal is obviously a great business. I mean, to get a player like that who would have been attracting interest from a lot of clubs around Europe. I mean, 99% of Spurs fans on Twitter are annoyed that we didn't go in for him. My only concern there would be, why did he go to Newcastle, and what was his motivation for that? And we can all answer that question very easily. I mean, if he was motivated, if he had these big plans, if he wanted to win stuff, he would not have gone to Newcastle. If he wanted a paycheck, he would have gone to Newcastle. That's where he's ended up. But that doesn't mean he's not going to be a good player for them, because they need something in the middle of the park, and I think he offers enough defensively and offensively to within one signing fix maybe more than one problem that they have, if that makes sense. Target did well when he went into Villa, was decent at Southampton. He could offer something to them. I was really surprised. I haven't watched much of Newcastle this season. I didn't realise what was going on with Jamal Lewis. And he's been left out of their 25-man squad for the rest of the season. He was a great signing when he came in, and I suppose that does show you the unpredictability of bringing players in. You never know what's going to work out. But I'm probably going to sit in the fence here, and I'll say we'll know how good Newcastle's window was when we see where they are at the end of the season. And I think it's just a bit too early to say if these deals will be enough to keep them up. But if they, fair play to them.
Yeah. Eddie Howe now has to turn it around quick time. I know he got a result at Leeds, which pains me because it was brutal. And we forgot to talk about that actually, because I was going, "There's not a chance. There's not a chance." And I think, to be fair, Matt said they will. I was going, "No way." And I'll be, oh man, it was horrible. Genuinely,
it was just one moment though, wasn't it? Like they did win it on just that. So
yeah, and we battered them, man. Especially in the first half, we should have been out of sight. If you had Gerrard or Bamford starting that game, we win that game for me, but it is what it is. Dan James is just not clinical. He's just not it. He's just not it, unfortunately. But yeah, Newcastle, again, he will need to start getting results because Newcastle, they can't go down, can they? You know what I mean? Especially now they've spent this money, and I think if he doesn't start to get it, then I think he might get the sack, and then we might see Rafa there. We'll have to wait and see.
Have you got a bet on Joe?
I just see it, bro. I just see it. I do. Then I can say, I fucking told you.
I've seen you on Twitter requesting a bet. Benitez back to Newcastle.
Me, I'd have got some. If it happens, I'd have got some mad odds on that.
Yeah, you would
at the time. Right, now let's speak about Spurs then. What I will say, Matt, Kulusevski and Bentancur coming in. It was mad that you waited till deadline day. Was there any worry within the Spurs fan base that Conte is going to walk here? Because it's January the 31st and we have no signings. What's going on? I'll let you take the floor, mate.
The Spurs fan base lost their mind when Adama and Luis Diaz, the deals fell through. I don't know if the Adama one did fall through or if Tottenham kind of let things happen. But yeah, every single Tottenham fan, bar a very select few, which I include myself in, expected, not even thought Conte would walk, but expected him to walk at 11:01 p.m. On deadline day. Thought he'd be out of there. I kept the confidence and the faith the whole way through that we would make at least two signings. It was always going to happen because it couldn't not happen. We needed to get bodies in, even if it was just for a little bit of a boost, whatever. We needed to get players in. And it was annoying that we had to wait till deadline day for it to happen, but I don't think it's as bad as what's being said in the press. I mean, Luis Diaz was a big blow. Adama Traore, I'm not too sure it was, because the way Fabio Paratici does his business is he has 3, 4, 5 targets for every single position. He negotiates, finds the best deal, and buys that one. Adama was the only target we had for right wing back. So if that was really a priority position and one that they absolutely wanted to get done this window, first of all, they wouldn't have sat on a deal agreed with Wolves for a week before actually getting it done and letting him go to Barcelona. And secondly, there would have been backup options there. So I'm not too worried about that, but we haven't really dealt with the big problem areas in our team, which is a backup striker for Harry Kane and a left centre back. As good as Ben Davies is, as much as he's stepped up since Conte came in, he's not a long-term option. And if he's injured, we don't really have anyone else to sit in there. So I'm concerned about those gaps in our squad. But the deals that have been done, Dejan Kulusevski, 21 years of age, we're getting him on loan. It's 18 months loan for 10 million, then an option to buy for 35 million unless we qualify for Champions League or he makes 15 starts next season. Then it's an obligation to buy. 21 years of age, over 100 appearances in the Serie A. He's won a few titles, he's won a few cups, he scores goals for fun. And I think he's as I was mentioning there, Bruno going into that Newcastle team, Kulusevski offers us more than one thing. If we're playing in 3-4-3, he's a perfect player to play out on the right hand side, kind of as an inverted winger, playing in those half spaces to allow space for the wing back. He'll pick up the ball there, and he has that creative spark that we're lacking because we can't break down teams who play a low block. I think he will help us to do that. If we go for a 5-3-2, he can play kind of in that Alli against Liverpool position I described it. It's a centre mid, but it's a lot more advanced than the players he's playing with. Or he can be that second striker alongside Harry Kane. Great deal. He has a lot of developing to do. He's not going to be the finished product as soon as we get him in, but a very clever signing. And Bentancur, I think, is being massively underestimated as a deal. 24 years of age. We're getting him for 19 million with 6 in add-ons for whatever reasons. He's won 3 titles. He's won 2 Super Cups. He's won 2 Coppa Italias. He won everything at Boca Juniors, and he's been a very important player in what was a very good Juventus side up until last season or the season before. And I think he just seems to be a player who hasn't really fit in with the new system changes they're trying to make to get themselves back to that level. But when he was in that team, he was really good. And Juventus even put out a statement, actually in typical Tottenham fashion. Juventus announced these deals before Tottenham did. But in their statement, they said since he came in, he's had the most tackles, most interceptions, most wins, most games played for Juventus since signing. So very, very good deals there for Spurs. And the one concern I do have is that we waited till deadline day, and it just so happens conveniently the 2 targets that we went for are players who Parati's old club are trying to move on. And I don't have my tinfoil hat on. I'm not saying he just wanted to give his old team money, but it seems a little bit too convenient for there not to be something more to it. But they're still great players, regardless.
It's dodgy, man. This guy's dodgy. We were speaking about this before. He was getting investigated, right?
He still is, yeah, still under investigation. He's got really quiet. But the chief scout that we had before that, Steve Hitchen, was essentially doing the job that Parachi is doing now. When Parachi came in the summer, Steve Hitchen became the performance technical director. I think he resigned yesterday. So Spurs fans have very differing opinions on him. I think he'll be a bit of a loss, but it's probably a good thing that he left because he didn't really have any power. But Parachi's really taken over now. And yeah, I think the departures were better, but I'm sure we'll have those in a sec.
Yeah. And Dombele going. What? Talk to me about Brian Hill, because I know you're a massive fan of him. What do you make to that?
I think he needed to go for game time, but I would have preferred if it was to a Premier League club or even to a team at the top of the Championship. I'm sure would have been more than happy to take him, because he did it at Sevilla, he did it at Eibar. I mean, we know he's a good player in the La Liga, rather. I watched him last night. Valencia played Cadiz in the Copa del Rey, and he wasn't really involved, but he looked really, really good when he got on the ball. And he's just not getting time at Spurs, and I think we're just in a situation where, because we need to win every single game, because we just can't string victories together, we're pushing for that top 4. It's not the perfect time to bet a new player in, especially one who's trying to acclimatise and adapt to a new team and a new league. So it was probably right to send him out on loan, but I don't think there's much benefit of him going back to Valencia, back to Spain, aside from getting minutes, which I know is a good advantage, but I feel like we could have done something else. And I'm sure even Leeds with their injuries would have been happy to take him.
Bielsa, he did kept Somerville, bro.
maybe not. But yeah, no, he needs game time. I think he'll come back a better player.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? What do you make to it, Corey? I'm really surprised. I thought they'd have done more, bro. I'm not gonna lie. No, I don't know.
I didn't. I wasn't getting enough out of Spurs before the transfer window to say it was a nailed on. This is what, and Conte had always been saying after every single game, I need this. It's going to take a while. So I just had a feeling it would go on for a while. I think massively undermined in terms of the Luis Diaz thing, because that was really quiet. And had they got hold of him, I think that would have been a brilliant signing for them. I'm not sure on the 2 Juve boys. If I'm honest, I haven't seen enough of them to sit here and say they're going to add something, but is it Kulusevski? He's going to be something different in that front line, in that front 3. And I think they need a bit more balance in there. And you look at it, if you're saying Son, Kane and him, that does look a lot stronger. I do find it a bit strange that they still neglected the right wing-back situation. I did think that would genuinely be a priority. I don't know whether it will hurt them, because I just feel that the options are so... Doherty and Emerson Royale were so poor. So poor. They shouldn't be anywhere near that. So I don't know whether that still hinders them, but I think they've addressed the centre midfield position, which was definitely something that they had to do, and something that goes under the radar massively at Tottenham, because those players, I think Højbjerg's a better player than he gets credit for, but you look at Winks, again, I just don't feel that he passes vertically enough. Again, his passing isn't great, so it'll add something to them. And I think if Paratici knows them, if Conte wants them in, then again, you've won half the battle, because when you start getting in players that you don't want and you've got to work with, then Conte's going to start getting the ump. So time will tell, but I think from the outside in, it does look like decent business.
Nice. Top 4?
I hope United put it out of the bag, if I'm honest. But I have said before on a stream that Conte could be the difference, genuinely. And I think the difference when you're looking at West Ham and Arsenal, both teams didn't strengthen when they needed to. And the gap I still feel is very, very small. And Spurs did. If it proves that it's enough to get a few more goals or control games a little bit more, then yeah, they could do it. But Man United, just call it a squad. But we'll see, mate. I think that's more my heart. That's my heart talking. Yeah. I don't want to let it happen.
I think so too. You haven't seen enough from Ralph Ragnarok to be saying
that. No, not at all. No.
I don't think so. Do you think West Ham's windows has outdone you of even being in the conversation?
I kind of felt that we were on the wane anyway before the close of the window, because of the results against you, and that put pressure on us to get a result against Manchester United. And if you look at the results generally over the past, I'd say early December to January, the end of January, there's been quite a few inconsistent performances and results in there. And January was a perfect opportunity to address that. It really was. I said about Carleta Carr, it was the no-brainer. It was the gift horse that they offered to West Ham, and they went, "Here you go. If you want top 4, take me." And we went, "No, it's a loan to buy, and that's all we're going to do." And that's hugely frustrating because I feel that West Ham could get enough goals. It's just defensively we need to improve. But I've spoken about the striker thing so many times. It is absurd. It is borderline negligence for a team in the Premier League or in the Championship or in League One to have one fit striker. It's for 3 windows. It's unacceptable. And it was quite difficult to listen to David Moyes. The club put out an interview with him talking about the transfer window and talking about the striking options. And he was saying, well, we've got Bowen as a backup. And I was like, David, the one concession, I'm with you all the way on a lot of things, but the one concession I just need up front is get a player in on loan. Don't spend 20 million, don't spend 30 million. Completely agree with you. Not the right market, not the right time. But just in terms of legs, just in terms of a player that can come on for 20 minutes, that can give Antonio a rest in the big games. And we didn't do that. And for me, I feel that surely there's someone out there on loan that West Ham could have brought in over 3 windows. Like, surely there has to be one player. So that's where it's got right under my skin. But we're giving it a couple of days, and we are still a good team, and we have had 2 weeks off, and we should look all right. But it's just, I don't want to get to the end of the sort of season and look at cup competitions, the Europa League, the FA Cup, and say, well, we had to play Diop there when we could have brought someone else in, or Antonio didn't play in those games because he was fatigued. And that's kind of the conversation now. If Moyes comes out and says we can't play 3 games in 1 week, because David, we've made our bed. We have to lie in it. We can't say anything anymore. So that's the only thing for me. But I've got listen, on the West Ham point of view, no doubt those players will give everything. No doubt Moyes will do his best. But it was frustrating, and I don't think we can get away from that.
Yeah, you sound like Leeds United fans. We've tried to sign a centre midfielder for the last 3 windows as well, and still not managed to get one.
Look, in principle, the idea of bringing in a player that is better than what you've already got is fantastic for building a squad. It is, but the bar on the striker situation has gone from get a player better than Antonio, get a player that's different from Antonio, have a plan B for 20 minutes, and then just get legs in. And we've gone down the
just get Corey on the bench.
But when I'll do it. But you obviously don't watch West Ham as much, but Antonio is absolved from so much defensive duty when he's tired. He doesn't have to press. We can basically sit in a 4-5-0 with Antonio just as a free. He gets all the responsibility. So if you're in the last 20 minutes of a game and we go 4-4-2 and we're defensive, just a player to press, like just with a bit of work rate. And that's the bar. So I'm a bit kind of, can Yarmolenko do that? No. So there has to be a player better than Yarmolenko. There genuinely has to be one. Yeah. So I don't know. Listen, Moyes has done enough. I've got to trust him, even through gritted teeth, because that was quite tough to take, mate. That was quite tough.
100%. No, I can understand it. I think we're covered. I think we're done. Don't you? Anyone else? There's Wolves did a bit. Watford. Yeah, I think the big thing for Watford is obviously.
Can't think of anyone else.
Yeah, nah. A lot of clubs didn't do much, to be fair. But right, I want to ask you. We know who. So we all went for Villa, winners of the window. I think, was that right? Nah, Matt. Who did you go for?
Spurs. We got rid of Ndombele. That in itself is enough.
Ndombele, he's a brilliant player. It's a shame, from if I'm being neutral, he didn't see him, and because I think he's brilliant. Like technically, he's absolutely superb.
He's had games for Spurs where he's looked one of the best players I've ever seen in a Spurs jersey. Just technically, he gets the ball. He glides past people as if they're not there. He has that. The control of the ball is ridiculous. So that goal he scored against Sheffield United last season, when he's running out of play in by the 6-yard box and he loops it back over the keeper. He's a brilliant player, but he does not give a single damn. The way he walked off that pitch against Morecambe, getting booed and then slowing down. Should never wear the jersey of the club again. I don't think he did.
That's horrible.
Cherry on top of a disgusting cake. It was, that wasn't good.
Yeah, wow, slowing down. Imagine that. Wow. I'd be like, get out, you fat.
And the Spurs fans were.
You can imagine. Are you really going for Spurs winning? Come on.
No, God, no, Villa.
Villa, yeah. So we all went for Villa. Right. And I want to know people's thoughts in the comments as well. Who will be the success of the window? Player brought in at the end of the season you know, we know what Matt's going to say, but come the end of the season, we'll go, do you know what? That was really, really astute and did the business. Corey, I'll go to you.
I'm gonna go Coutinho. I'm gonna go match winning vibes. I don't know, man. I mean, if they can keep in touch and distance of those teams that are competing in the European spots, he's the guy that's got that moment. And even against Manchester United, even when he's rusty and he hasn't been training for long, just to get in the right position, he'll be the difference for them. I would have said Bruno for Newcastle because I'm excited to see what he can do. But I think Coutinho is a match winner.
Nice, Matt. Come on.
Do you want me to say it?
You going Dele Alli, yeah?
Of course I go Dele Alli.
Yeah, Dele Alli. Okay. I'm going to go for Weghorst. At Burnley. Because even if they don't stay up, like Matt was chatting, I think he'll do enough that someone else will take
him and Cornet up front. That's quite potent, you know. That's got a bit about it, to be honest.
Yeah.
To be fair, just to touch on, Burnley nearly got Mislav Orsic as well.
Yeah.
They got both 3 deals done in the space of 6 months. That's ridiculous.
I saw that geezer score a worldie against us at the London Stadium. Like, genuinely, I've never seen a goal like that in my life. I was like, what the hell is that?
It's mad, isn't it? Like, how he's now started signing players that are English as well. Do you know?
I've seen that.
It's so funny. Yeah, but I'm going to go for Weghorst. A lot of going for Coutinho in the comments as well. Newcastle Wood will keep right. Has he even scored yet, Wood?
No,
he's not, has he? No, he hasn't.
A lot of pressure on his shoulders.
Yes, yeah, there is. I don't know.
I'd say it's free hit. If I was Wood, I'd be like, buzzing, I'm in.
Yeah. He probably doubled his wages on that, didn't he? It's mad, really, yeah. Right, I think that's it. Boys, have you got anything coming up on your channel? Corey, have you got anything in the offing, mate?
I should do. I've been a bit lax. I couldn't address the transfer stuff. It was getting under my skin, but
really?
I'm going to try and do a preview for Kidderminster stuff, which is going to be as interesting and as uninsightful on an opposition as you'll ever see in your life. So just talk about who we're going to play, and then we've got Watford. So I'll be back to pre-match and post-match.
Search Kidderminster Fan TV, you might find some.
I gave it a good go last year. We played Stockport. I watched their highlights. I was like, okay, let's figure it out. And like this year, I'm like, Kidderminster, it's too far for me, mate. It's too far.
Come on, you guys. Matt, what's going on? I bet you've got time off now. You've been going January transfer mad, haven't you, on your channel?
Yeah.
You are the new. You are the new Fabrizio Romano. I think in 10 years' time, I'll be sending you DMs saying, "Do you remember when I used to have you on channel? Can I come on?" You know?
God, I hope that happens. I do know people in my life chat call me Matizio Romano and Fabrizio Romano as well. Which I think it's just a little bit premature. As well, when I tweeted about the Kulusevski and Bentancur's deals, about people saying "Hey, we go" in my comments, and I like it, but it's not an accurate reflection on what I do. But yeah, I'm in hibernation now till the 1st of June, till the window opens again. I might do videos if Spurs win games and stuff, but it won't be consistent content, that's for sure.
No, why not?
Oh, the videos just never do well. I get all caught up in the views and stuff for the transfer window, and
really?
It's just I'll do something. I'll be jumping around and watch alongs now because I should have some weekends off at work. So I'll still be about, and I'll obviously still be coming on here whenever you want me, but.
Yeah, of course, mate. We want you all the time. Myself, what am I doing? Wednesday, obviously, we play Villa. It's my birthday as well. I'm going to be 34. I'm not looking forward to it. Not my birthday, just not looking forward to the game, to be honest. I'm a little bit worried.
You're at home?
No, we're away.
Ooh.
We're away. Away at Villa. Yeah, it's going to be a tough one. I'll be doing a watch along for it as well. Birthday, doesn't matter. I'm just going to start chatting about my birthday all the way through, so hopefully people send super chats. Anybody watching?
One to that geezer that used to come on every single show.
I know, right? Where is he?
Yeah. What a legend.
Someone pushed. What was he called? Ahmed, wasn't it? I think. Was it Ahmed?
I actually don't know, but he used to just give
just mad money, man. I reckon his dad got hold of his credit card. I used to say to him, Ahmed, stop it.
You need to get Hal back on. You need to get Hal back on and just put him there. And go.
That's where he's gone. I bet he's on
Sheffield United. Wait. Yeah. He's supporting Sheffield United now. He's
definitely. Because he just disappeared off the face of the earth, didn't he? Yeah, man. Come back, Ahmed. Come back. I need some new gear, like clothes and that. Come back. I'm joking, man. I'm joking. Right. Thank you, as always, for watching this show. It's always a great show. My favourite show of the week, getting to chat with these lads. So make sure you join us next week as well. I don't know if we'll do anything after the FA Cup because it's a Mickey Mouse competition now. We're not in it. So, yeah, we'll be back from the Premier League at some point. Come on, you Irons.
Come on, you Irons.
Yeah, right. Okay. Peace out, people. Enjoy your weekend. We are out.